The Cleveland Browns are at a crossroads after a disastrous 2024 season. Coming off a thrilling 11-6 playoff run in 2023, the team fell apart last year, finishing with a painful 3-14 record. Injuries have plagued both sides of the ball, and now, questions about the team's future are mounting. Now let me ask you, what did you think of Kevin Stefanski's performance? Some fans like him, and some can't wait for him to leave. Let us know in the comments, and be sure to hit that like button. Let's get started. One of the biggest topics of the offseason? Myles Garrett. Yep, you heard that right. The face of the Browns defense, and arguably the franchise, could be on the trade block. Zach Jackson of The Athletic recently suggested that trading Garrett might be the best way for the Browns to jumpstart a rebuild. Jackson's argument is simple: Garrett's value on the trade market is astronomical. He's coming off another dominant season, recording 14 sacks for the fourth straight year and surpassing 100 career sacks. At just 29 years old, Garrett is still in his prime and would command a king's ransom in return, likely multiple first-round picks or high-value assets. But here's the twist: Garrett has made it clear that he's not interested in being part of a rebuild. Earlier this offseason, he expressed that if the Browns decide to hit the reset button, he would prefer to be traded to a contender. For a player who has given everything to this franchise, you can't blame him for wanting a shot at the Super Bowl while he's still in his prime. Trading Garrett would be a tough pill to swallow for fans. He's not just a great player, he's a leader, a fan favorite, and a cornerstone of this team. But with the Browns holding the number 2 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, some believe now may be the time to make bold moves and rebuild for the future. Speaking of the draft, the Browns face another big decision: what to do with the number 2 pick. Quarterback is the hot topic, with Colorado's Shedeur Sanders and Miami's Cam Ward the top prospects in this year's class. But here's the thing: draft expert Dane Brugler of The Athletic isn't sold on either of them. According to Brugler, this year's quarterback class doesn't compare to last year's talent pool. He explained on Cleveland's 92.3 The Fan that Sanders and Ward would have been ranked QB7 or QB8 in the 2024 draft. That's not exactly the kind of confidence you want when you're considering spending one of the top 2 picks on a franchise quarterback. Brugler noted that both players have potential. Of the two, he's more bullish on Cam Ward, citing his steady improvement throughout his career. Ward's journey, from a wing T tackle in high school to starring at Incarnate Word, Washington State, and Miami, shows he's a quick learner with a ton of potential. But there's a catch: Ward's loose play style may not translate well to the NFL unless he improves his game. For the Browns, this offseason is shaping up to be one of the most crucial in recent memory. Do they trade Myles Garrett to stockpile draft picks and build for the future? Or do they double down on the current roster and hope to bounce back in 2025? What about the number 2 pick? Do they take a shot at a quarterback or look elsewhere to bolster the team? Okay, Browns fans, it's your turn. What would you do if you were in Andrew Berry's shoes? Would you trade Myles Garrett for a big-time acquisition, or is he untouchable? And what about the draft? Are Sanders or Ward worth the risk at number 2? Let us know what you think in the comments below. The Browns have already made 5 roster moves to kick off what is shaping up to be one of the most important offseasons in franchise history. After a disastrous 2024 season, finishing 3-14, the team has a lot to prove. This offseason isn't just about fixing the roster, it's about saving the franchise's direction. So who are the 5 players the Browns have added to their roster? Tight end Cameron Latu, running back Aiden Robbins, offensive lineman Javion Cohen and Cameron Tom, and wide receiver Jalen Gill. These aren't blockbuster names by any means, but they signal that the Browns are getting an early start on their offseason strategy. But let's be real here, this is just scratching the surface. For the Browns to turn things around, the stakes are much higher. Among their biggest offseason priorities? 1. Finding a quarterback solution. The 2024 season showed that the current options aren't cutting it. With the number 2 pick in the NFL Draft, the Browns will have a chance to address the most important position in football. But can they find the right guy in what many analysts are calling a weak QB class? 2. Decide Nick Chubb's future. After an injury-plagued season, Chubb's role in the Browns' future is up in the air. Do they double down on one of the game's best running backs or consider moving on to save cap space and focus on a rebuild? 3. Revamp the offensive line. Injuries and inconsistent play have made protecting the quarterback and establishing the run game a challenge. Expect this to be a big area of focus. 4. Add defensive reinforcements. Myles Garrett is a star, but he can't do it all by himself. Whether it's improving the secondary or finding another edge rusher to complement Garrett, this is essential. Speaking of Myles Garrett, let's address the elephant in the room. Garrett has made it clear that he's not interested in being part of a rebuild. If the Browns can't convince him they're serious about competing in 2025, he could push for a trade, and losing Garrett would be a huge blow to this team. It's safe to say Andrew Berry and the front office are under a lot of pressure. While Berry has made some solid moves during his tenure, his track record is far from perfect. Add head coach Kevin Stefanski to that equation, and you have two key figures who could find themselves on the hot seat if the Browns don't show significant improvement next season. Cleveland fans, we've been through a lot of disappointments over the years. This offseason feels like a make-or-break moment for the team. They have a chance to rebuild and compete, but they'll be making smart decisions across the board. From getting their draft picks right to making the right moves in free agency, there's no room for error. Now, it's time to hear from you. What do you think of the 5 new additions to the roster? Do you think Andrew Berry can have a perfect offseason? The Browns had a season to forget in 2024, finishing 3-14 and ranking last in offensive production. After averaging a league-worst 15.2 points per game, it was clear something needed to change. One of the first moves the team made was to part ways with former offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey and promote Tommy Rees to fill the role. If you're wondering whether the 32-year-old coach is the right guy for the job, you're not alone. ESPN Cleveland's Justin Cooper recently weighed in on the decision, calling it a smart hire. According to Cooper, promoting Rees ensures continuity in a year when the Browns are already facing a lot of roster and coaching staff changes. He added, if you look around the NFL, a lot of these guys, coordinators, are being brought up by the system with their head coaches. I like the hire overall. For those who don't know, Rees has an impressive resume for someone so young. Before joining the Browns in 2024 as their passing game coordinator and tight ends coach, he held key roles at Notre Dame and Alabama, serving as their offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. He has already earned a reputation as a brilliant offensive mind, and now he is tasked with reshaping a unit in desperate need of a fresh start. But what can we expect from Rees in 2025? While it's too early to predict specific changes, his experience with elite college programs could bring a youthful, innovative energy to the Browns' offense. This team has struggled to find consistency, and it's up to Rees to get more out of the talent on the roster. The decision to hire Rees also reflects head coach Kevin Stefanski's continued confidence in his coaching staff and his willingness to adapt. After all, Stefanski has decided to resume play-calling duties for next season, a responsibility he handed over in 2024. With Stefanski back in charge of the play-calling and Rees helping to create the offense, the Browns are banking on a dynamic duo to bring some life back to this team. That said, the pressure is on. The Browns front office, led by Andrew Berry, is facing increasing criticism after a disappointing season. Fans know the clock is ticking on this regime, and if the Browns don't improve in 2025, changes could be coming at the top. So, Browns fans, what do you think? Is Tommy Rees the spark this offense needs? Do you believe promoting him was the right decision, or should the Browns have looked outside the organization for a fresh perspective? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Before you leave, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Browns news and analysis. Go Browns!